horrifying shade of crimson red. Gina's body went into shock as she desperately tried to fend off the relentless predator, but her strength faded quickly. The pain in her grievous wound was unbearable, and the shark's thrashing only worsened the damage. Gina could feel her life draining away, her vision growing hazy as the world around her blurred into darkness. It was a harrowing and tragic end to what was supposed to be an ordinary day of filming. Matthew stood frozen in terror as he watched the horrific scene unfold before him. He couldn't move, couldn't bring himself to a pack of bull sharks, and he couldn't do anything to save her. Matthew survived the ordeal, but the emotional and psychological trauma of that incident will stay with him. Immersed herself in the crystal-clear waters of Ningaloo Reef, Australia. Her wetsuit hugged her body tightly, making her feel as if she was part of the ocean herself. With her hair floating around her, she swam with effortless elegance through the vibrant blue world that surrounded her. Her eyes shone with excitement as she took in the breathtaking scenery that lay beneath her. She had spent countless hours studying the intricate ecosystem of the reef, from the colorful coral to the dazzling schools of fish that swam by. And as she explored this mesmerizing underwater wonderland once again, she was filled with awe at the intricate balance of life that existed there. Each time she plunged into the depths of the reef, Mary felt like she was stepping into a magical realm, where the beauty and harmony of nature never ceased to amaze her. Ningaloo Reef was a coral paradise, with its stunning array of corals in all shapes and sizes, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that seemed almost otherworldly. Mary had dedicated her life to understanding these complex. Her love for the ocean and its creatures was infectious, and she had a deep sense of responsibility to protect and preserve these fragile ecosystems for future generations. As Mary descended further into the depths of the reef, she marveled at the sheer size of some of the coral formations. They were unlike anything she'd ever seen before, and she eagerly began documenting her findings. She swam gracefully, her movements fluid and precise, as she observed the intricate symbiotic relationships between the corals and the myriad of marine life that called this reef home. As Mary focused her gaze on the majestic coral formation, a sense of calm and wonder enveloped her. She marveled at its intricate patterns and vivid colors, feeling like she'd uncovered a hidden treasure in the depths of the sea. But then something changed. A prickling sensation crawled up her spine, making her turn around abruptly. Her eyes widened in horror as she spotted a massive, ominous figure emerging from the shadows. Its body was massive, its movements deliberate and calculated. Mary's heart raced as she realized that she was face to face with one of the ocean's greatest predators. The creature's cold, unblinking eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, Mary was frozen with fear. As Mary's eyes adjusted to the shadowy figure, a wave of fear washed over her. Her heart pounded in her chest as she recognized the unmistakable shape of a 13-foot tiger shark, a predator that could easily overpower her with its muscular body and razor-sharp teeth. The water around her seemed to grow colder as the shark circled her, its menacing gaze never leaving her vulnerable form. Mary's muscles tensed as she remembered her extensive training, knowing that every second counted in this deadly game of survival. With trembling hands, she reached for the knife strapped to her thigh, her fingers fumbling for a moment before finally closing around the hilt. She held the weapon tightly, ready to strike at a moment's notice, her eyes scanning the dark waters for any signs of the shark's next move. The tension was palpable as she waited for the inevitable attack, her heart racing with the knowledge that her life was in mortal danger. The tiger shark surged towards Mary with astonishing speed, its massive jaws opening wide, revealing row upon row of razor-sharp teeth. She reacted with lightning reflexes, slashing at the shark with her knife, aiming for its sides in a desperate attempt to fend off the imminent attack. But the predator seemed relentless, undeterred by her efforts. Its powerful muscles propelled it forward, and in a split second, Mary felt searing pain as the shark's jaws closed around her right arm. She screamed, her mind reeling in shock as she watched in horror as her limb was torn off in a brutal bone-crunching snap. Blood clouded the water, and Mary's body convulsed in agony as she struggled to comprehend the nightmare unfolding before her. Mary's mind raced as she fought to stay calm. She knew she had to get to the surface and get help, but the shark was relentless. It circled her, its cold eyes fixed on her remaining limbs. With all her strength, Mary tried to swim towards the surface, but the shark was faster. It lunged at her, latching on to one of her legs. Mary's fascination with the creature proved to be a fatal mistake. The shark launched towards Sarah with lightning-fast speed, its jaws gaping wide. Before she could scream, the predator clamped down hard on her leg, yanking her beneath the water's surface. The force of the bite was like nothing Sarah had ever experienced before. The shark's teeth sliced through her wetsuit, and she could feel the piercing pain in her leg, signaling the beginning of a terrifying fight for survival. As the water grew murky and dark, Sarah struggled to break free from the powerful grip of the shark's jaws. But the predator was too strong, its hold unrelenting. It dragged her deeper and deeper into the abyss, and Sarah knew that her chances of survival were slim at best. Her heart racing, her lungs burning, she fought with all of her might against the relentless force that threatened to claim her life. Jake saw the horrifying scene take place before his eyes. He knew he had to act fast if he intended to save Sarah. Jake's heart pounded with fear and adrenaline as he swam closer to the attack scene. The water was murky and kicked with all her might, using her free leg to try and fend off the shark, but it was too powerful. It thrashed and ragdolled her under the water, the surrounding water turning dark red with her blood and pieces of flesh from the brutal attack. Mary's screams were muffled by the water as she fought for her life, but the shark was relentless. With one loud crunch, the shark bit off Mary's leg, leaving her defenseless and fading fast. She felt the pain and despair wash over her as she struggled to stay conscious. The shark circled her once more before it lunged at her, this time going for her neck and head. Mary felt the unbearable pain as her flesh ripped apart, and then everything went dark. Days passed, and reports of Mary's disappearance surfaced. The authorities searched the area, but no body was found. The news assumed that she was devoured by sharks frequenting the area. Mary's family was devastated by the news, and they mourned her loss. The incident served as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the waters, even in the most beautiful of places. Mary's legacy lived on. It was a tradition that had been passed down for generations. One such pearl diver was a young man named Jera, who lived in a small village on the coast. Jera was an expert diver, and he had spent his entire life diving for pearls in the deep waters of the Indian Ocean. He was fearless and had never been afraid of the dangers that came with his job. But one day, his luck ran out. Jera had been diving for pearls for hours, his body accustomed to the deep ocean waters. He had already gathered a good amount of pearls, but he wasn't done yet. He wanted to collect as many as he could before returning to the village. As he dove deeper, he suddenly felt the sharp pain in his left thigh. He thought he had hit a rock or a piece of coral, but when he looked down, he saw a large shadow moving towards him. The shadow grew bigger and bigger. Jera used the opportunity to swim away from the shark. With blood pouring from his wounds, Jera managed to swim back to the surface. His fellow divers saw him bleeding and pulled him onto the boat. The attack had been brutal, and Jera's wounds were severe. His thighs were torn apart, and he had lost a lot of blood. But he was alive, and that was all that mattered. His fellow divers rushed him back to the village where the elders treated his wounds. Despite his injuries, Jera refused to give up pearl diving. It was the only way he knew native people who lived along the rugged coast. The water sparkled under the bright sun, and the soft sand felt warm and inviting underfoot. The day, promising them a day of adventure and excitement. As they sailed further away from the shore, the group cracked open beers and started to let loose. The sun was shining off the boat and swam around in the deep waters below, daring each other to see who could stay under the longest. Andy was hesitant at first, knowing that the deep waters were home to all kinds of creatures, some of them dangerous. To their horror, they met the apex predator of the sea, the great white shark. As Andy struggled in the water, his body thrashing with fear, his eyes locked onto the great white shark's eyes. They were cold and black, filled with a primal hunger that chilled him to the bone. The shark's massive jaws opened wide, revealing row upon row of razor-sharp teeth, each one glinting in the sunlight. Andy's heart pounded in his chest as he fought to stay afloat, but the shark was relentless. Its powerful jaws clamped down on his leg, the teeth sinking deep into his flesh. The pain was excruciating, a white-hot fire that shot through his entire body. The freezing ocean engulfed him, the salt water stinging his eyes and nostrils. He kicked and thrashed, desperate to reach the surface and escape the jaws of the great white. But the shark was relentless, circling him with the precision of a hunter, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Blood seeped into the water from the gash on Andy's leg, a result of the shark's initial assault. The metallic tang of blood filled the water, further inciting the shark's primal instincts. Andy's heart raced as he felt the beast's massive jaws clamp down on his leg, its serrated teeth tearing through flesh and bone like a hot knife through butter. He screamed, the pain unbearable, as the shark shook its massive head, trying to rip him apart. Andy's survival instincts kicked in, and he fought back with everything he had. He jabbed at the shark's eyes, desperately trying to pry open its monstrous jaws that were clamped around his leg. The water turned into a crimson hue as blood mixed with seawater, creating a macabre scene. His view that it was a shark. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as he battled the fish, trying to bring it in. Juan had mixed emotions about the catch. On the one hand, he felt a rush of excitement at the thought of catching such a powerful creature. On the other hand, he knew that sharks were dangerous animals, and he wasn't sure if he was equipped to handle one. He carefully pulled the shark closer to the boat, trying to keep a safe distance. As he got a closer look, he could see that it was a bull shark, a species known for its aggression and strength. The shark thrashed and fought against the line, trying to break free. Juan struggled to keep his footing as the boat rocked back and forth in the water. He knew he had to be careful, or the shark could easily pull him overboard. After a 20-minute battle, Juan was finally able to bring the shark up to the side of the boat. He could see its razor-sharp teeth and its powerful jaws. He knew that he had to be careful if he was going to release the shark back into the water. He carefully removed the hook from the shark's mouth and took a few quick photos, wanting to remember the experience. Just as he was about to measure the length of the shark, it began jerking around and bit him on his ankle. Luckily, he was able to pry away its jaws instantly and only left him with minor wounds. Because of this, he immediately decided to lower the shark back to the water. For a moment, the shark seemed disoriented and confused. Then it suddenly surged forward, disappearing into the depths of the ocean. Juan breathed a sigh of relief, feeling grateful for the experience, but also glad that it was over. Juan sat back in the boat and began treating his wounds, watching the waves ripple from where the shark had disappeared. He sailed back to the dock where he sought medical attention. He was sent home immediately after being treated for his minor wounds. Back at home, he told the unbelievable story to his family, and they knew he had just had one of the most thrilling experiences of his life. It was a moment he would never forget, and a reminder of the ocean off the coast of Hawaii. As they set out, the bright sun sparkled on the tranquil water, luring them in with its gentle had been meticulously checked and double-checked to ensure their safety. They were eager to put it to the sharks as possible, and nothing would sink effortlessly through the depths. With a flick of its powerful tail, it disappeared into the blue expanse before them. Without hesitation, Sarah signaled Jake to follow, but Jake signaled Sarah to stop the pursuit. And every breath was a struggle, and Sarah could feel her heart pounding against her chest as she struggled to stay conscious. The sound of the shark's fins slicing through the water sent shivers down their spines, and they knew they had to act quickly to return to shore. As they sped back to shore, Sarah felt relieved knowing she had survived a deadly attack by one of the ocean's most notorious predators. She couldn't stop thinking about the shark and how close she came. Thrill of catching waves, and they couldn't wait to explore the famous surf spots in Hawaii. It was the perfect destination for the romantic getaway. As they landed in Honolulu, they were greeted by the sun and warm salty breeze and the sound of waves crashing. Rode the gentle waves and watched the local surfers show off their skills. They also went to the North Shore, where they challenged and drove along the scenic road to Hana, taking in breathtaking views of the coastline. One day, they decided to try their luck at a secluded surf spot that they had heard about from the locals. It was a hidden gem, surrounded by stunning cliffs and crystal clear water. As they paddled out, they noticed that there was no other surfers around, and they felt like they had found their own private paradise. But as they waited for the next set of waves, they suddenly heard a loud splash behind them. They noticed a dark shape moving towards them. At first, they thought it was a dolphin, But as it got closer, they realized it was a tiger shark, its jaws wide open. The shark's razor-sharp teeth were visible, and the couple froze in terror. Their hearts raced as they watched the shark swim towards them, its sharp teeth glinting in the sun. Sebastian and Olivia tried to paddle away, but the shark quickly caught up to them. The couple could see the shark circling them, and they knew they were in serious trouble. Fear filled their hearts as they saw the massive predator getting closer and closer. Olivia's heart was pounding as she remembered stories of tiger sharks attacking humans. She looked over at Sebastian, who was trying to remain calm, but she could see the fear in his eyes too. They had never felt so vulnerable before. The couple tried to stay together and keep their boards close, hoping that the shark would lose interest and swim away. But the tiger shark seemed to be fixated on them, and it kept circling them, getting closer with every pass. Olivia's mind raced as she tried to come up with a plan. She knew that they had to stay calm and not make any sudden movements that would attract the shark's attention. They had to make themselves as small and unappetizing as possible. As the shark swam closer, Sebastian grabbed Olivia's hand and whispered to her to stay still. He knew that any sudden movements could provoke the shark and make it attack. They watched in horror as the shark came closer and closer until they could see its eyes staring at them. Suddenly, the shark turned and swam away, disappearing into the depths of the ocean. The couple let out a sigh of relief, but they knew they had narrowly escaped a terrifying fate. They started paddling towards the shore as quickly as they could, hoping that the shark wasn't following them anymore. They could feel the fear rising in their chest, but they refused to give up. They kept paddling, their arms burning with exertion. Finally, they reached the shore and they scrambled into the sand, panting and sweating. Sebastian and Olivia paddled back to the shore, shaken but grateful to be alive. They knew that they had been lucky, and they would never forget the terror they had experienced that day. From that day on, they vowed to always be aware of the dangers of the ocean and to respect its creatures, especially the mighty tiger filled with bubbles, making it difficult to see what was happening. He could hear Sarah's muffled screams and knew that time was running out. He pushed himself harder, his arms and legs pumping with all the strength he could muster. As he got closer, he saw the full horror of the situation. The shark's razor-sharp teeth were dug deep into Sarah's mangled leg, and blood was gushing like a river. She fought with all her might, but the predator's grip was too strong. Jake knew he had to act fast, or Sarah would be lost forever. Without hesitation, he lunged at the shark, grabbing its dorsal fin with all his might. The shark thrashed and jerked, trying to shake Jake off, but he held tight. He could feel the immense power of the predator beneath him, and his heart pounded in his chest as he struggled to keep his grip. Finally, with a burst of strength, Jake hit the shark's snout, shocking it with a jolt of pain, forcing its mouth open and freeing Sarah's leg. The shark recoiled and temporarily retreated to the depths of the sea. Jake and Sarah took this opportunity and immediately approached the waiting boat, leaving a trail of blood in their wake. Sarah's leg was gruesome, vision blurred, his strength waning. Andy knew he was in the fight for his life. He mustered every ounce of energy left in him and delivered a powerful punch to the shark's snout. The shark finally released him, its eyes rolling back in momentary shock, giving Andy the opportunity he needed. He propelled himself towards the surface, blood trailing behind him like a grotesque crimson ribbon. His friends on the boat were screaming his name, reaching out for him as he breached the surface, gasping for air. But the shark wasn't done yet. With a final burst of speed, the great white charged at Andy, its massive jaws gaping wide. Andy's friends watched in horror as the shark's teeth closed around him, tearing him apart in a gruesome spectacle. Blood sprayed into the air, painting the ocean in a deep shade of red as Andy's body disappeared beneath the surface, consumed by a ravenous predator. The sea calmed, the only evidence of the harrowing ordeal being the blood-stained water, a haunting reminder of the brutal power and unforgiving nature of the great white shark. The rest of the trip was a blur for the group. They made up stories about what had happened to Andy, telling anyone who asked that he had met a girl and decided to stay in South Carolina, while beyond thrilled when Pedro asked him to visit his hometown of Guadalupe Island in Mexico for an introduction to scuba diving. With Pedro as his mentor, Owen was confident he would make the most of his diving experience, even though he had never felt the rush of being underwater before. Pedro's expertise was reassuring, and Owen felt excited to take on the challenge. Guadalupe Island was a breathtaking place, a seemingly tranquil oasis surrounded by the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The water was so clear that it reflected the blue sky above like a mirror, revealing an underwater world full of wonder and danger. Beneath the surface, the coral reefs were a maze of colors, from bright greens to deep blues, dotted with exotic sea creatures that could take one's breath away. The currents were strong and unpredictable, and the waves crashed against the rocky shores with us from the shore. Owen's unease grew with each story, but Pedro seemed unfazed, assuring his friend that he knew these waters well and that sharks wouldn't be a problem. Yet the tales of terror lingered in Owen's mind, and the thought of facing these predators in the deep dark waters of the Pacific Ocean filled him with dread. The following day, Pedro and Owen plunged into the vast ocean surrounding the island, their senses alive with the thrill of adventure. The vibrant underwater world was a feast for their eyes as they swam alongside colorful schools of fish and majestic sea turtles. The waters were so clear that they could see for miles, but the clarity also made it easier for Owen to spot something sinister lurking in the shadows. His heart racing, he saw two enormous great white sharks silently gliding towards them, their razor-sharp teeth glinting menacingly in the sunlight. Owen signaled Pedro frantically, pointing at the two great white sharks that glided with an ominous grace through the clear blue water. Pedro motioned for Owen to follow him, a confident smile on his face as he swam towards the creatures. Owen felt a chill run down his spine as he realized how close they were getting. Suddenly, the sharks seemed to sense their presence, and their behavior changed. They began to move in erratic patterns, as if agitated by the two divers invading their territory. With their heart racing and adrenaline pumping, Pedro and Owen tried to retreat as fast as they could from the agitated sharks. But it seemed like the predators had other plans in store. Suddenly, one of the sharks broke away from the group and charged towards Pedro like a missile, the force of the impact sending him spinning out of control. The sickening crack of bones echoed through the water as the shark slammed into Pedro's back, leaving him paralyzed and at the mercy of the ocean's danger. Found in Shark Ray Alley, a stretch of crystal-clear waters off the coast of Belize. The azure waters of the Caribbean Sea glimmered under the scorching sun, illuminating the vibrant corals and tropical fish that swam within. But beneath the surface, the true highlight of Shark Ray Alley was something else: the sharks. The nurse sharks were a sight to behold, with their smooth gray skin and majestic presence. These creatures were known for their gentle and serene demeanor, making them a popular choice for photo shoots. Laura had swam with them previously, and she felt completely at ease with their company. The way they glided through the water with effortless grace, their inquisitive eyes following her every move, made for an unforgettable experience. As the photo shoot was going smoothly and the crew was well ahead of schedule, Laura decided to take a dip in the tranquil waters, feeling the sun's warmth on her skin. The nurse sharks gracefully circled around her, as if performing an elegant ballet, creating a serene and peaceful atmosphere. Laura felt at ease as she moved through the clear turquoise water, admiring the vibrant coral and fish beneath her. It was a moment of pure bliss, a temporary escape from the chaos of the world. She was so confident in the docile nature of the nurse sharks that she let her guard down, unaware of the ominous presence lurking just beyond her vision. The tranquility of Shark Ray Alley was shattered in an instant. The water that was once so calm turned into a bloody red frenzy. Laura's serene swim turned into a nightmare as she felt an excruciating pain rip through her leg, like hot iron searing her flesh. When she looked down, her worst fears were realized. A bull shark had sunk its razor-sharp teeth into her skin, intent on dragging her deeper into the abyss. The predator's eyes burned with fierce hunger, its jaws clamping down tighter and tighter, as if nothing would stop it from its desired meal. The agony was beyond words, and every movement felt like a struggle against death itself. Laura's screams became choked gasps as she felt herself being dragged into the abyss of the water, her body twisting and contorting as she tried to break free from the shark's vice-like grip. She could feel the water pressure building around her, suffocating her as she struggled to breathe. The bull shark's eyes were fixated on her, its razor-sharp teeth cutting into her flesh like hot knives through butter. Laura could feel her flesh ripping apart from the attacks of this primal.
Spotted the telltale dorsal fin of the shark, a relentless force of nature closing in with deadly intent. Samuel's heart raced, the adrenaline surging through his veins as he registered the imminent threat. The world around him seemed to slow as he gathered the last remnants of his strength, his survival instincts kicking into overdrive. He propelled himself with every ounce of energy he could muster, his limbs burning with the exertion as he pushed his body to the limit. And then the shark struck again in a heartbeat that stretched into eternity. Its powerful jaws clamped onto Samuel's leg, the force of its bite sending shock waves of pain reverberating through his body. The crushing pressure was relentless, an unyielding grip that threatened to shatter bone and spirit alike. The searing pain was a visceral reminder of his vulnerability in the face of nature's apex predator. Samuel's vision blurred with pain and desperation as the shark's relentless grip held him captive. He fought against the force that's out to pull him under, his will pour an unbreakable barrier against the abyss. And in that moment of unbearable turmoil, Samuel clung to his determination, his spirit unyielding even as the jaws of the great white threatened to consume him whole.
And he wanted to do his part to make a difference. So when he heard that there had been reports of tiger sharks in the area, Kai knew that he had to investigate. He knew that tiger sharks were one of the ocean's most fearsome predators, but he also knew that they played a Despite the trauma of the experience, Kai refused to give up his passion for diving. He knew that the ocean was full of danger, but it was also full of wonder and beauty, and he was determined to continue exploring its depths, no matter what dangers lay. Exploring the stunning coastline and indulging in water activities was enough to invigorate her. White sandy beaches stretched for miles, inviting them to explore. The constant murmur of the waves crashing against the shore provided a soothing soundtrack to their adventures, while the soft sand tickled their toes. But beneath the idyllic scenery lay a world of danger, and it was only a matter of time before they would find themselves entangled in its grasp. As the sun began undersea volcanic crater, intrigued, Melissa and her family eagerly inquired for more details about the location. The local described it as a magnificent wonder of nature, with an abundance of marine life and underwater caves waiting to be explored. As the group imagined themselves diving into the clear blue water of the crater, they felt a sense of excitement and apprehension. They had never attempted anything like this before, and the unknown dangers lurking beneath the surface added to the thrill. The idea of venturing into a crater formed by a volcano that had been colors of the coral reef below were mesmerizing, and the family couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder and awe at the otherworldly beauty before them. Schools of brightly colored fish swam around them.
In despair, he propelled himself upwards, the instinct to escape overpowering every rational thought. The boat with the captain above seemed like a lifeline, a beacon of salvation amidst the nightmare below. But just as Andrew's hope began to take shape, he was yanked back into the abyss with the captain screaming for help on his mobile device. The shark's jaws clamped around Andrew, its strength undeniable as it dragged him deeper into the watery realm. A primal struggle unfolded, a battle between human will and nature's unrelenting force. The shark's grip tightened its power, a testament to millions of years of evolution. The predator gripped his neck and swung his head so violently that Andrew's head was immediately detached from his torso. The once serene ocean had become a theater of carnage, a stark reminder of nature's brutal indifference. The news spread like wildfire, the unthinkable attack sending shockwaves through the community. Efforts were launched to track down the shark responsible for the gruesome attack. It had not only decapitated humans, but its aggression had left a chilling mark on the very fabric of the ocean. Scientists and experts pored over data, seeking to understand the catalyst behind such a heinous act. The investigation unfolded, shedding light on the complex interplay of factors that could drive a creature to such aggression. The waters held secrets, and with each revelation, a deeper understanding of the delicate balance of life beneath the waves emerged. The legacy of that fateful day extended beyond the immediate horror, prompting a journey of discovery that would shape perceptions and challenge
Predator. Was palpable as Laura gasped for air, her heart racing with fear. She knew that the bull shark was still lurking somewhere in the depths below, biding its time before striking again. The quiet stillness of the ocean was shattered by the sounds of her ragged breathing, the only thing standing between her and the ruthless predator. Laura braced herself for the inevitable, knowing that the next attack could be fatal. Laura desperately dragged herself through the water, her injured leg throbbing with every movement. The once calm sea around her now felt like a death trap, as she sensed the shark's presence closing in on her. She could hear the creature's powerful strokes through the water, its sharp senses locked onto her scent. Laura's heart raced as she realized the futility of her efforts. The shark was coming for her, and there was nothing she could do to escape. She stopped moving and closed her eyes, steeling herself for the inevitable attack. Suddenly, a massive shadow eclipsed the sun, and Laura's eyes flew open, just in time to see the shark launch itself out of the water. Its body was a blur of sleek, muscular power. Its